Thank you, Suzanne. I appreciate that introduction. As Suzanne said, I was a former colleague and an employee at U.S. Bank for many years. Shout out to all my U.S. Bank friends in the audience. And U.S. Bank has been a sponsor, so I've attended this event many times before, and it's one of my favorites. You're going to have a great time today. We have a lot of fun. If the panelists want to come on up and grab their seats, that'd be great. We have a really exciting panel today. It's called The Secrets of Growth, How to Grow a Business into a Powerhouse. And I had a chance to talk to these business owners last week. And these are people that have grown, small businesses, in some cases grown many businesses before, and are now, already at that kind of double digit of employee stage. So, they have a lot to share with us about how they turn those businesses into larger ones. Before we do that, I kind of wanted to take the temperature of the room. It's going to be a little hard to do the hands up from the stage here because it's a little blinding, but I was asked to find out how many business owners we have in the crowd, but I think I'm going to say how many business owners or Packers fans do we have in the room? Can I see it? Is there any non-Packer fans that want to admit it? Oh, wow, okay. We got a rough crowd here today, yeah. Well, how many either Packer fans, non-Packer fans, or business owners had some struggles during COVID? Any challenges? Anyone want to admit that it was a little rough the last few years? Few of you? No? Everyone's saying they had it under control? Well, from a business owner's perspective, I think many businesses did struggle. And we're here today to learn from some experts on how they pivoted, how they adjusted, and what ideas they have for going forward, because by no means is the business climate any more settled necessarily than it was during the COVID environment. There's changes happening all the time. I hope that all of you come away today with at least one great idea, a new perspective, a tip. So listen carefully. I know I'm here to really listen and learn. I'm new to WDC and really excited that I get a chance to participate and got here in time to be a part of this event this way. So as the panel moderator, I'm going to just kind of sit down here and take us through what I hope is more of a conversation than anything else. But I'd like if each panelist could start by introducing themselves, but also answer one quick sort of flash question here on what do they feel is the biggest misconception about business growth? So, Dr. Laci, we'll start with you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Dr. Laci C. Robbins of A&A Services and Transportation, as well as Robbins Nest Consulting. I'm really excited to be here today, so thank you for the opportunity. For me, I would say one of the largest misconceptions is that growth is always a great thing. We actually, in our transportation business, grew way too fast, and we started in May of 2020 in the middle of the pandemic and had to learn how to quickly scale back because the growth almost could overtake us.
I'm Andy Weins with Green Up Solutions and also Camel Crew Junk Removal. As far as growth, the challenge that I've seen a lot, whether it's small business, big business, or the average layperson, they think about revenue. And revenue does you no good without profit. So it's similar to what you're talking about here as far as growing too big, too fast. Maintaining your profit throughout your growth stages is important. 6-7 years ago when I got started in business, I didn't understand the idea of cash flow. I'm like, oh, we made money, so we're good. And then one day you don't have cash, even though you have business. So that's really important. A lot of times people focus on that revenue and they don't want to share their profit numbers because there's taboo around it. But at the end of the day, without profit, you don't have a business. So I challenge everybody, not just other business owners in the room, but also the bankers of the world, right? Think about profit. That's what matters, how much money is left at the end of the day. And the best way to do that is putting profit on the priority list, not just the thing that happens when all the business is done.
Hi, Lisa Reynolds, Reynolds Packaging. We are a flexible packaging manufacturer in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So we are official Packer fans. We started our business, it was founded back in 1999 by my husband, who I call the Wizard. Started our business out of a garage, and literally we started to grow out of demand. So we were getting beat from companies in manufacturing from across the ocean, and decided that we needed to build better and stronger and faster equipment in order to be competitive in the market. So we started that way, and then COVID hit. And when that hit, there was nothing in our business plan that said, oh, pandemic, here's what you do. So we learned to transition. And I think the biggest thing when you're growing a company is to have different revenue streams. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Have different businesses, as you do, and do different things, because if one goes down, you have other ones to rely on, other revenue streams, be it, different products, or be it, different businesses. So that's what we've really learned over the course of growth, and we're really excited that we are where we are today. And if it wasn't for using our resources, we wouldn't be here. So.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me?
No.
No?
No, we're good.
Yep.
Good morning. My name is Wensy Melendez. I am I'm president and CEO of Amigo Construction. We are a 30-year-old company in Cambridge, Wisconsin. We specialize in sheet metal and composite work. So part of one of the things that I've learned in the last couple years is just like Andy just said, it's your cash flow. It does you no good to have a $1 million contract and turn out that you barely came out on it because you don't quite understand your unit cost. You don't understand your labor cost. So understanding your cost to me is actually key in business. Once you figure that out, you can then scale your company. You could say, hey, I want to try to achieve 30% growth next year, and so on. And you can do so because you've learned and understand your unit pricing. And to me, that's key. So.
Wow, as a former banker, this is like, you couldn't ask for a better panel here. I think I heard, have multiple streams of revenue, don't grow too fast, work on profits first. You are preaching to the banker choir there for sure. That is impressive, but that explains why you're here and how you've gotten to the size you have, I'm sure, in a lot of ways. Well, this is a conference on supplier diversity, so for the first question, I really want to make sure we have time and cover that. So, Wensy, maybe I'll start with you, but if you could describe how supplier diversity programs have been important to your firm, or for some reason that they haven't, how just being a part of a diverse business community has impacted your business and how it's grown.
So, like I said, we're a 30-year-old business. I asked this question to my father. He's still very involved in the business. I said, Dad, how did being minority and these programs help you out? And he honestly couldn't tell me how. This has been 30 years in the making, but I can tell you that Amigo Construction, for instance, we are a MBE contractor, but what puts us on the line is our craftsmanship, is our history. What type of projects we can do and what type of projects we can manage. MBE, sure, it opens the door. It gives us the opportunity to be seen. But right now, I think that what's most at stake for Amigo is making sure that we can perform. That just stuff like that I think it's important to us. So.
Okay, no, that's great, Lisa.
I think. Being a woman-owned company, we have, like you said, we've had doors open for us that we've been able to use additional resources and things. It just gives you a little bit better exposure to the things that you really may not have had if you were just, a small business and you're just trying to just get by. You need to use your resources. So, like the SBDC. When we decided to grow our business, we first I reached out to the SBDC and I said, can you help us? What do I need to do? I need to buy equipment. I need to do these things, and how do I get the funds to do it? And that's where I started. And we first got our first financial package put together with a couple from the SBDC, and then it turned into larger and larger projects, and we worked with the WEDC after that. And using all of your resources is really important. You might not think it is right away, but it down the road it really benefited us.
I struggled with this at first. I didn't want to lean in on my veteran status as a justification for people to do business with me. I wanted to be the best at what I do, and I wanted people to hire me for that reason. And so I definitely had that pride that got in my way, and I came here to my very first marketplace back in 2016, and I realized that it was an opportunity and not a crutch. And I've also thought since that point, every business started as a small business. Apple started out of a garage, Amazon started out of an office, Elon Musk and his brother started X.com, which is now PayPal, with one computer, right? There was things along the way that went their way, which allowed them to grow into the businesses they are today. Once I embraced that and understood that and then fought through the paperwork, because that's the biggest obstacle past the mindset, is getting in SAM and getting in all the different organizations that get you registered and qualified and insured and all that. But once I got over that hump, I realized that I really enjoy working for the government. I've been in the military now 18 years. I still serve as an Army reservist, and it brings a lot of joy to me when I go into the VA and I do projects with fellow veterans. We recently did a documentary with the VA, and now I'm part of the history of the Milwaukee VA. And so now it's not just a great opportunity to get in front of people and do projects, but it's also very satisfying and fulfilling, continuing to serve my community in a different way and using my voice as a veteran to tell that story. So my opportunity or my challenge to everybody here is, don't you as the business owner, don't be the reason why we don't move forward. And to your point, right, you don't always recognize the benefits, or you don't know it right off the bat. I'm like, oh, I'm a veteran, I should get this or I should get that. It's like, no, you got to be really good at your craft. And then only in retrospect you look back and say, okay, hold on, these are the things, these are the choices I made that got me to where I'm at today. Right, you don't get to decide on those defining moments in your life. They come only in retrospect.
Now that's fascinating. I think most people that maybe aren't part of a diverse community would be like, we want to help. Veterans or somebody, for sure, I would want to help. It's so interesting to me that you didn't want to, use that network as a part of it. That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's a pride thing. You don't want it to be a crutch, right? If his firm is better than my firm, well, he should do the work, not me. Or actually, we're both in transportation, right? At the end of the day, you should hire the company that's the best fit, not the one that checks a box. But the opportunity is to do both, right? Do the work on the front end to be successful on the back end.
Well, and I think oftentimes people aren't aware as to what resources are out there. So for us, when we decided to start ANA, which is named after our children, Ariana and AJ, we knew, let's consider an alternative resource to gather funding. And so, shout out to Northwest Side CDC, Willie Smith, who's here on today, who's the executive director there. And being able to have conversations with him and be able to seek and obtain that alternative funding source, knowing what the statistics state with regards to a minority-owned business, a woman-owned business, both of which ANA is a certified MBE and WBE business. Robbins is also, as well as NMSDC. And so, but that NMSDC sponsorship came through a partnership with US Bank. And so it's really being able to know, what are the resources in the room that you can tap into so that you can be able to leverage and start your business, or be able to tap into resources that have been laid aside. I very much did not discount the fact that we are a women-owned dominant business. We were intentional in establishing our business, our operating agreements are 51% women-owned, 49% my husband, who's my business partner. And because we know what the resources are that are out there.
Great. No, that's fascinating. Like I said to me, this is a great chance for me to learn. I'm going to stay with you, Dr. Laci, but you and I were talking earlier this morning. You have 3 businesses, not just one. I know you're really talking today about ANA, but what was the biggest challenge for that business or any of your businesses in growing, and how do you handle those challenges in finding growth?
I think for us, when it came to ANA, the largest challenge was the learning curve. So, it's a transportation business. Neither one of us are drivers. Neither one of us have a CDL. That's also often the misperception, I think, too, is that you have to be an expert in the business before you start the business. We were able to tap into resources such as coaches and consultants to help us in lifting, which I think oftentimes people discount that as well. And then, we have family who who have experience in logistics, and so we were able to tap into that. And so for us, one of the hurdles per se to overcome was just really realizing the mindset that we can do it, being willing to say no and set those boundaries, and then just the workforce, tapping into the workforce. I don't care what industry you're looking into, everyone is talking about the shortage of employees. And so, do we hurry up and exit them back into the workforce, or do we try to train them up so that we can keep them on board with the team? We're really intentional in starting this business because we wanted to be able to assist individuals who were in reentry, so coming out of the incarceration system, coming out of the human trafficking system, so that they had a safe place to be able to land.
That's fascinating. So your biggest obstacle to growth, at least recently, is sometimes finding the workers rather than finding the sales. It's
absolutely
not a conversation we might have been having 5 or 10 years ago.
No. So if you know anyone with a Class A CDL, you can see me at aatransporting.com. We do have an incentive program that we offer as well. So
good. How about you, Andy?
It's been for me for mindset. When we first got in business, my brother was my business partner, and I knew how to do junk removal. I thought that was pretty simple, right? Going to people's houses, take stuff out. And then I realized that over time, I had to fall in love with the other parts of the business. And now I teach classes to other entrepreneurs on the 6 buckets of business, because often, I have a bachelor's degree in business management, and that's a great, nice piece of paper on the wall, but so what? Right now I have to take these ideas and go out there and have cash flow so I can stay in business tomorrow, right? So, there was a point in my business when we were counting cash by the day. And I understood numbers, and I understood accounting, but business was this complicated thing. So over time, I've simplified it to these 6 buckets, which is marketing, sales, operations, the thing, HR, and then finance, which all sound like business things, right? But a lot of times they get, well, it's HR and finance and sales, it's marketing. No, I've broken those things down to simplify them. And then it's about understanding my strengths, right? There's a couple buckets I'm really strong in, and a couple buckets that I have other people that are strong in it, right? So understanding that, because at first as a business owner, you're like, I got to be good at everything. Well, the reality is you were put on this earth to be great at some things, focus on those, and find yourself people that will be really good at those other things, and surround yourself with people that have strengths that are different than yours. At first I'm like, I got to hire a bunch of Andys and we're going to be awesome. Well, one Andy's enough, right? Ask around. So recognizing what your strengths are, looking intrinsically, and then also being willing to stand in front of 100, 200, 300 people, what it is, and talk about where you're not strong and your vulnerabilities. And once you can admit your vulnerabilities to yourself and the room around you, then doors start to open. So that's it. It's as a business owner, you don't have to have all the answers. You have to know how to find them.
There's a great book, write this down, Who, Not How, Who, Not How, which is an amazing book, which is just about that, finding individuals who this is their strength, right? You're really good at something, but find someone who's great at it and allow them to step into their greatness.
Yep, be a why leader, right? Answer the question why. Figure out the what together, and let people amaze you on how they accomplish those tasks. If we're going to do shameless book plugs, profit first.
Yeah, I was
From the first question, profit first. There we go. I got my shameless book plug.
Yeah, Profit First is another great one.
A good book.
Yep.
Pay yourself first.
Yep.
Oh, still struggling.
Yep.
Well,
Exactly.
That's a great conversation. I think, I've taught some very small business classes, much smaller than yours, and I think that's a misconception I see, is that they think they can either do everything, or they don't like sales, which can be a problem, and they just think they can put up a website and it'll happen. And growth is a lot of hard work, but it's hard work that you shouldn't do alone, and I really like that lesson. Yeah, that's great. Lisa, how about you?
Yeah, I think listening to other people, I had a good teacher, a gentleman by the name of Dean Stewart, and he was part of the Packer Protege Mentor Program that I was in, and he taught me that you need to sit back and look at your business. Take the umbrella look, where you can be in it day after day after day and doing all this stuff and trying to working 80 hours a week. And which is what I used to do. I used to be there till 7, 8 o'clock at night, just, and then pulling the all-nighters and doing all that. And then I realized, that I'm not getting anywhere. I need to lean on other people to do it. And that was really hard because, when you're a business owner, you're all pretty strong. We're all strong up here. We're not. So we think we can do everything. We're invincible.
We can. Don't lie. You can do it all.
Yeah. So I had to let go of certain things, and I lean off on our people. I have one here, Liz. Liz is, she's my right hand. She's like a super huge resource, and if I wouldn't have had people like that around me, we wouldn't be here. The other thing that I was taught was to look at your business and say, okay, what do I need to start doing and what do I need to stop doing? And that was really important. You can't do the same thing over and over, you're just gonna have the same problems. And in that, it was like, okay, cash is also king. Somebody else told me that saying, and that sticks with me because it was an older woman that had many businesses out throughout her life, and she kind of said, just remember one thing, cash is king, and if you lose that, then you're done. So I really learned a lot over the last 4 or 5 years that have helped us really grow.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I mean, I think sometimes I tend to think the same way of growing sales and just growth in general is what more do I need to do? But sometimes thinking about what do I need to stop doing is easy to forget. I appreciate that. So, Wensy, how about you?
I think material escalation is something that I just learned not too long ago. So, of course, everybody in business knows of escalations, but when COVID happened, now all of a sudden escalations are like this, and I think keeping up with that is key. Often on the line of Amigo Construction, right? We'll see material escalations pre-contract, but then we'll see them throughout the stage of the phase of the construction, and so picking up on that, making sure that you're not overseeing that there have been escalations and whatnot. I think that's key, but. In mind comes a recent project that we're just closing up. It's with J.P. Cullen. It's the UW Natatorium project. It's a very large scale project for the UW in Madison. Now, when we first signed up, when we had a scope review meeting, one of the first things that I think that caught my attention with the general contractor is what we do is we hire MEPs first. We do our concrete, our steel, and so on. And usually the cladding isn't in the forefront. But because of material escalations, we were the second. They signed concrete, and then they signed the metal panel guys because they saw the flux in the market. What that sparked is interest and is procuring of materials, right? I said, well, at some point we have to create an LLC. We have to create a different company that supplies and manufactures these products, because that's a true thing. That's really happening. You often can't get materials. Materials were priced at a certain price, and now 2 months in they're a way different price that you hadn't factored. So picking up on things like that I think is very important. With that, I do have to say that I'm proud to say that in 2023 we'll be rolling out a supplier and manufacturing company called CCI, Comprehensive Cladding Innovators. We'll be in Lake Mills. We recently bought a 80,000 square foot facility that we're in the midst of renovating it and making sure that can be our housing for CCI. So I'm very proud of that, and hopefully next year I can stand up here with a little more on it. So
good for you.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, I think contracting comes with its own set of challenges, but I mean, I can't tell you the number of times I've heard supply shortages and inflation-related comments. I'm sure they affect all your businesses, but I can only imagine with something like steel, the ability that you have to be nimble there is impressive. So congratulations on that. So the next question is really going to be one that we want to talk about two things. So one is, what are the sort of key factors in your success, if you had to think back and say what they were? But kind of a related question is, how do you keep score? How did you know, what was telling you when you knew you were having success? I'm really fascinated by the second part of that question, but Dr. Laci, maybe we can start with you and have you answer both those ideas.
Yeah, sure. So I think for us, we started with an intention, right? So we started with 3 little minivans, which, like, think about the car rider line. Like that's how we started our transportation business. And it was being able to do that efficiently and effectively, and then opportunity came again. And so we went from the 3 little minivans, which are now our manager vehicles, to a tractor trailer, so an 18-wheeler. And learning about the 18-wheeler, learning about the ins and outs of it, the benefits of having a push start, because so many drivers no longer know how to drive an automatic, those sort of nuances, right? And I think for me, I define success very differently. It wasn't so much like when we started seeing the checks roll in, and I'm like, this can't be accurate. Like they're coming to get this because this can't be accurate. But really, it was looking at our children and seeing the pride in their eyes when they were like, I want to go out and be with the trucks. I want to go out and see how the trucks are coming along today. Or, when can I go behind the gate and onto the station? And that to me was like a defining moment when they're asking questions. Our son, especially AJ, he thinks that he is co-owner, co-facilitator. My husband is the COO, I'm the CEO, and clearly he thinks that he is COO Junior because he will ask questions about drivers and initiatives that we're working on, and I think we need to get rid of him. And he's 16. He's 16.
My daughter's 8 and does the same thing. So I'm like, the whole time I'm listening, I'm like, well, how old is he?
Yeah.
My 8-year-old daughter goes around and tells people what to do, and she's never right.
Right.
But I appreciate the initiative.
He has actually really great insight. He definitely is a different thinker. He has an entrepreneurial brain, whereas our oldest, she is, high achiever, triple type A like mom. But the fact that his brain is already thinking that way, to me, I'm like, how can we support that and lean into it? Because if you just look at his report card, he doesn't look like, a great student. But his brain and the way his brain already thinks. So that's how I started to define success. And then obviously, I can look at the P&L, right? But I'm looking at it from a greater scope of just that engagement that we're having. I'm looking at the talent we've been able to retain, the drivers that we've been able to keep on board with us. We offer health insurance. To me, that's a win. And we're not talking about like, Joe Blow health insurance. I'm talking about United Healthcare. And so we have drivers who have stayed on with us because we've been able to offer health care. That is an advantage that we have. So those are some ways I've defined success.
Yeah. Andy, you want to go next?
Yeah, what's led to our success was day one, I had a business partner and my brother, right? And here, my hillbilly math was this: there's 100 things to do every day. If he does 50 and I do 50, we're good, right? And then the goal was to get from 50 down to 10. How can I do 10 things a day? And then the goal was get it down to 3 things. Right? And the first thing you do is be yourself, right? So that, okay, now we're down to 2 things, really. What can I do? And once I did that, and I understood the 6 buckets of business, again, in time, that's what led to our success. Because now I can focus on the 2 or 3 things a day that I need to do to be the most successful entrepreneur for our company. Where our company comes first, and who am I? Who does Andy show up every day as that team member for the organization? So that's what led to our success. When I look back in retrospect, the times that we were most successful was when we understood, right, we had to be A players on our team. I remember, a couple years ago when the Bucks made a run and won the NBA championship, won the finals, it was about the players playing key roles, right? Bobby Portis, right? He came off the bench and he was an A player in his role. Right? And the 12th guy on the bench wasn't playing minutes, but he was the one hyping up the rest of the team. It's everybody on the team understanding where they have to play within the organization to be a player in their position. Not everybody has to be a leader. Everyone has to be an A player in their position. And my definition of success was real simple. There was a Saturday morning where I slept in, and my phone didn't ring, and everything was taken care of, and I slept until like 9:30. And that to me, I was like, oh my God, we got this. Right? And that was about a year into our business. And I left for 3 weeks. I had 3 weeks of military training. And the first week, I just said, hey, don't burn the place down. I'll be back in 3 weeks, right? Whatever you screw up, I'll fix it in 3 weeks. The first week was very trying. The second week, they figured it out. And by the third week, they didn't want me back. And I thought,
that's good.
This is why we did something, right? And that was almost, 12 months to the day almost that I started the business. And that was the true measure of success, that the organization within 12 months had already superseded me, and that was huge.
Fascinating.
So my husband and I run the business together, and he's more the hands-on, the machine, the builder. He's the wizard when it comes to building and designing equipment. And we have some very proprietary equipment that is high-speed manufacturing for flexible packaging. So, you know, he's more in the shop and that kind of guy. And then I'm in the office and work with the team in the office and work on all the you know, the administrative side of it, all the paperwork, all of that. You know, so that's how we've kind of gotten to where we are. We're pretty balanced that way, and it was great. You know, we kept our offices far apart during the day. And you know, we learned when you go home at night, you just don't talk about it, you know. and it's worked really well. The definition of success. So my husband also likes to cook. He cooks a lot. So twice a week, and I kid you not, twice a week he will make, we have a big kitchen in our office. He comes in and he makes food for the employees at least twice a week. And one of them said to me, you know, if he stops making food and lunch, you're gonna have to give me a raise, because so, you know, success is culture, I think, for us. You know, when I see our lead machine operator out there on the floor and I see him kind of standing around, you know, with his arm on the, you know, on the machine, I'm like, that's a good sign, because that means everything's running. And, you know, and they're happy. You know, the guys get along, the girls get along, you know, and everybody it's positivity. You know, we really try and make it a positive environment, because if it's not, and you have, you know, there's always some conflicts, but I think you have to be a problem solver as an entrepreneur. We're all problem solvers up here, because you don't come across things and just think that you're going to just whiz through it. You know, you have to be able to find a solution to a problem, whether it's your customers, you know, that you need to solve their problem, or you need to solve employee problems, or you need to solve a mechanical problem. Being a problem solver is satisfactory, but I think just having our culture is the biggest thing, a positive culture.
Sure.
In the military, we call that embracing the suck.
Embracing the suck.
Being an entrepreneur sometimes sucks, right?
Yep.
You either turn away or you lean in.
Lean into
Yep.
it. Yeah, you have to lean into it.
Sometimes you lean in with a lot of elbow grease.
Hard work solves most.
Yep.
So I was told that the road to success is always under construction, right? Always, right? So there's never really a win, like I truly won, unless you got to go, right? The thing I take from this, I think, is having a good banking relationship. I think that's that has to be there, right? You have to invite your banker. You have to be able to show him your vision. You have to be able to execute when he helps you out, he or she helps you out. So I think that has been a good key in our success. The other thing is hiring of a good management team. On my end, you know, we've got an estimator, we've got someone that's doing purchasing for us, we've got an operations manager. You know, we've got people lined up, and learning from these guys, I think, or from your team is key, because just because you're the owner doesn't necessarily mean that you have the keys to success. Right. Someone else has them. Someone else can share them with you and help you along the way. I'd like to share what we've learned along the way, but most recently I've seen a major impact, is learning vertical integration, right? Is learning how many pieces can you produce per day? Can we kick that up one more panel a day? Where are we buying our materials from? Are there other places that we can go and look and source? How many people are working on this? So I think it's always perfecting that. It's everybody up here knows your craft. We understand our craft, we understand our numbers, but I think that's one of the biggest, I think, parts of success is understanding your vertical integration. You know, how you're doing with your everyday in business. Everywhere you look, there's ways to modify and perfect, and I think that's key in business as well.
And I think when you talk about that, when you're talking about in manufacturing too, it's the same way. How can we get a little more production out every day, or how can we, do that? And as times may, as the economy may change as we're going forward, we may need to do that more and more, where we're tightening our belts, where we can figure out how many more pieces we can get out every day. Very good point. Yeah.
And well, you said leadership team, right? And when you invite your leadership team into those conversations about vertical integration, right? Upstream, downstream, right? How do we spend less money or make more money?
That's right.
The ingenuity they come up with is amazing because their perspective is different, right? You got a 30-year business, you grew up in the business, just like me, I have my blinders on, this is the way it should be done. And once you start inviting other people to those conversations, you gotta hire them, you gotta mentor them, and then you gotta invite them to those conversations. Because one more piece might not make much sense to the frontline guy, but you run the numbers, one more piece at 250 working days a year
Absolutely.
makes a huge difference.
Well, it goes down to knowing your numbers.
Yep.
You know, it's at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what industry it is. You know, how do you get to market faster? How do we dispatch more trucks? How do we up? So everything we're doing is like training up for peak. This is like peak season, so we are Santa Claus, you know. And so everything we've been training our drivers up since September is to get you beyond the 90 to the 100 stops to the 120 stops. Like today I was looking at numbers coming in. Our pickup and delivery drivers today are delivering over 800 stops, over 1,100 packages, and that's 7 people dispatching. And so how can you continue to support them? Because I know that that one dispatch is gonna equate to X dollar amount.
Yep. The bankers love this, all this numbers talk. And we're sponsored by U.S. Bank, so,
Yeah.
right? It makes sense.
Did you want anything, Wensy, or not? I wasn't sure.
I think I just lost my thought. It's gonna
Come back.
That's all right. Well, I will say that I just love that one. That's why I wanted to ask that question of how do you keep score, because, you know, none of you said it's a return on investment of 1.5%, right? I mean, you all said that the financials are important, but they're a tool to, you know, impacting your employees' lives, impacting your customers' lives, you know, learning how to do what you do better and the craftsmanship in what you do. So, I mean, that's just amazing. Yeah.
It came back.
It came back. All right.
So on my end, right, it's learning what to bid, what not to bid,
Yeah.
right? When you learn that,
When to say.
you also, like say, I have 7 contracts right now, and we're busy through the first quarter of 24. I'm not taking any more work. But what I'm going to do differently is we're going to perfect those contracts. Everything from the procurement of materials to executing of the project. The general contractor must maintain that level of confidence that they're giving Amigo. And so I challenge everybody here to do the same, to say, okay, you know, we have X amount of work lined up, let's perfect that. And I think it's a good feeling to have. It's a really good feeling.
Well, and right now we're in the middle of a recession, right? And I've already seen a dip, right? We have a little spike here going in the end of the year, but it's generally been down. So it's not just about, like with you, it's great. Sales are not a problem, right? So it's about building an efficiency. But also when sales aren't there, because that's one of the biggest challenges a lot of small businesses have, is what do you do when there's no sales? Well, you look upstream or downstream. How can you continue to serve other customers by possibly offering other lines of business that you're already integrated without big capital investments? And then when you look that way, you can ask your customers, hey, what other challenges do you have? What other problems do you have? How else can I solve? And once you're vulnerable and lead with vulnerability, they'll open up the answers. They already trust you, right? And now it's about know, like, and trust. Well, get to know them and have them know you. What other capabilities do you have? Because where you're at is great. You know, a lot of businesses, myself included, we're not there. Where it's all about efficiency. So driving sales is also about diversifying, you know, the service offerings within the customer base you already have.
Yeah, the low-hanging fruit.
Right, you don't know it's low-hanging until you get out of your office.
Right.
You got to pound the pavement even today. I'll do a shameless plug, right? Hey, we're looking for more work. But that's it, right? And then being vulnerable enough to say, hey, I got trucks, I got trailers, I got guys, I got good attitudes, we got the right insurance, let's go, and then the world opens up. If you just sit in your office and wait for your website to drive traffic,
It doesn't work that way.
it doesn't work.
No, it's about really building relationships, and once you do have those contracts and those partnerships going back, being able to deepen the relationship as well. And when you do have the contract, doing good work. You know, I mean, you want your reputation to precede you, for sure.
And don't wait till you don't have sales to think about sales. That's what we're guilty of, right? We ride this roller coaster because we, as entrepreneurs, we know it, right? We know the work we're doing today, we're not gonna see the return on investment for 90 days, but often we're like, oh, now I need to step it up. And I do consulting and coaching, and I see that people the last 2 weeks are like, oh, how do I survive the winter? I was like, first of all, you should have thought about it at Labor Day. That's
pipeline.
Right? The snow flies every year. So why are we talking about it, you know, mid-December?
Absolutely. Well, I would tell you that if thinking back to my days in business school, talking about vertical integration and things like that with companies of 20 people, it doesn't occur to those professors. But I mean, it is fascinating to me that all of you really think that way already. That how can I expand my business? What's the next thing? And you're absolutely right. Your customers love you and they trust you. Asking them what to expand into next makes so much sense. But I'm not sure it's intuitive for everybody. So that's a great tip all by itself. So thank you, all of you. Yeah. Well, this next question is really, I think, a fun one. You already kind of jumped ahead and gave us some book recommendations, but we wanted to ask all of you if you could pick, and we're keeping it pretty broad here, but a book, a magazine, a podcast, even an app or a tool, or even a business technique that you want to sort of really share with the audience today. And Andy, I know at breakfast we were talking about you kind of run your own media empire for your company, social media empire, and so I thought I'd start with you and see what of those various choices you might recommend. I know you've already recommended us Profit First, I think.
Yeah, Profit First. I had the opportunity to meet Mike Mihalowicz twice this last quarter, in person and virtually. Profit First is a great mindset. Business books and podcasts and content, we'll call it. Business content is kind of like art. Right, I can make the recommendations in the world of what resonates with me, but you've got to find what works for you and then commit to one style. It's kind of like a diet, right? It doesn't matter what the plan is. What matters is you have a plan and you stick with it. So some of the things that I love, Profit First, I'm obsessed with Shark Tank. I've seen every episode of Shark Tank probably more than once. I get excited about Shark Tank like I do about A.J. Dillon scoring a touchdown. I'm like, yes! Like 12.5%, that's where you need to be. Like, I'm obsessed with entrepreneurship, right? That's it. We all spend an hour a day looking at content on social media, if not more, right? Like stats, it's probably 4 hours a day. Consume things that are gonna motivate you. Les Brown, I love Les Brown, right? I can watch Goldcast all day. I look at, like, growing up, my heroes were Brett Favre and Michael Jordan, Gretzky, Hulk Hogan, right? It's like all the top people in their industries, and I still love those guys, don't get me wrong, but now it's Elon Musk, it's Mark Cuban, right? I think about these individuals and how do I get to where they're at, right? Well, they paved their own path. They took a lot of mentorship, they took a lot of guidance, and eventually they took the torch. And so that's where I'm at. So it's about consuming content, surrounding myself and with content, whether it's a podcast, a book, a video, and then putting my own ideas out there. So whether it's the podcast or content I create on YouTube, and what I realize is once you plant seeds, then people come to you. And now it's conversational. So my challenge to everybody here, it's not like this is the book you have to read that's going to change your life. Find something and stick with it and make it a daily habit. And then it, once you do it, right, it's a thought, then it's an action, then it's behavior, then it's a habit, and then stick with those disciplined habits that are going to lead you to the success that you want.
Got it. Mm-hmm. Lisa, what would you share?
I think, I agree, Profit First is there are some good books out there that give you a good basis for what you need to kind of go, to start and to go forward. But I think you really got to have a passion. I think all of us up here have passion. We love what we do. At first, I thought, okay, we're going to start a business. Start it with your husband. This is a good thing. It was not always easy. But I think you really have to love what you do, and like you said, learn. If you like what you do and you always want to learn it, whether you're podcasting, whether you're just searching the internet, reading articles, I like to learn techniques as far as like how to streamline our IT. So like at the machines and in our office, I like to tie everything together. So I try and learn as much as I can, and that's what kind of feeds me. You just have to have a passion, and you got to apply your passion in any way, shape, or form it is. Whether it's reading, whether it's, like I said, podcasts and such. Some of the people that inspired me, like you read about, like Vince Lombardi. Some of the things that he did to be a great coach, it's very simple, and you can apply it to yourself and say, okay, if I'm going to be a great coach, I got to support the people on the team that's around me. I got to teach them how to be better at what they do. That gives me, great satisfaction to do that. So you just have to be passionate and follow your love, whether it's, it's not manufacturing. I didn't grow up saying, hey, I want to be a manufacturer when I grew up. It was, what do you love to do in that? So that's what I kind of see.
Great. Wensy?
Sure. So I'm a person of faith, and so to me, faith is utmost important. On my day-to-day, you know, I know when to talk to Him. To me, that's really key. It's almost unfair. I work with my father. I've been working with him for forever, and I look at him as okay. He's my father, but he's my role model. He's someone I've always looked up to. I will always respect, and because of that, everything that I do for him. And so I think that's and that keeps me grounded, right? So to me that's important. I don't have a book. I just feel like that, you know, you have to stay humble. You have to stay. You have to make sure that you're doing this for the right reason, and you're also doing it to help the lives of others that work around you. As simple as that, and then, you know, everything else will fall into place, in my opinion. So.
Got it. Well, we're down to that last minute, Dr. Laci. You get the last word here, I think. What do you recommend to the crowd?
Well, you know, similar to, I'm also a person of faith, and God definitely gets all the glory in this whole experience. You know, we started this business with that intention to be able to leave legacy and to create opportunity. And for me, one of the biggest books that I would recommend would be Radical Candor by Kim Scott. Part of the reason why I recommend that book is she really gets into how to have conversations with people. Oftentimes, especially, we can get into this mindset, I'm the boss, you need to listen to me, you need to do what I say. And people that are working with you, not necessarily for you, can have great ideas that if you just take a moment to listen, it can actually help you to either make money or save money in your business, and that can go a really long way. I am graced to be able to work with my husband as well. I often say he's boots on the ground, I'm brains in the office. We are that 1-2 punch and the tag team, and Honey will often say, now you want me to come here. You don't want my wife, because if she comes, it's a whole nother conversation that's about to be had. So, you know, I will say I play the bad guy oftentimes, and there's the good cop, bad cop. But I would often say too, is the last word I would offer is tenacity. Stick with it. There's so many times when especially if you're new in business, that you're gonna think, I don't wanna do this anymore, I can't do this anymore. Take a nap, reset your brain, get back up, and keep going.
Love that. Well, Keisha, who we all met from Prism Technical, who's coordinating this event, she left me with a quote, and I think it's really apt based on the conversation today. It comes from Andy Rooney. Everyone wants to live on the top of the mountain, but all the happiness and growth occurs while you're climbing it. And I feel like this group today really told us that, hey, they're enjoying the ride, and they're not so worried about where the mountaintop is. It's just have fun right now and do amazing things for our community and their employees and their families. So I really enjoyed this. Let's thank our panel. They did a great job.